Hurts has got it, wants to throw. Hurts setting up the screen. It is complete and blown up. Miles Sanders caught it. Malcolm Rodriguez was there waiting for him. That's a big play by Rodrigo.
Welcome to the 20-Minute in the Huddle podcast, presented by Microsoft. PJ Clark joins me as he does after every Sunday. And PJ, was very fitting that was a defensive play intro because for a second straight week, boy, that Young Lions defense on the field late in the game, needing a stop. Justin Fields, Chicago, all game and being able to get big play after big play, kind of do what they want. But at the end, when you needed a play for the second straight week, that Young Lions defense stepped up.
How great is that? And it's the guys that you wanted to make plays yet again. No Malcolm today, but plenty of other young studs on the line.
Plenty of young studs. And look, the Detroit Lions got it done. And look, it was a bunch of firsts, right? It was the first road win for Dan Campbell. It was the first fourth quarter comeback of 14-plus points since 1993.
Yeah,
98 games. They had never come back from a 14-point deficit in the fourth quarter. They did that today. And look, now it's two in a row. And Dan Campbell and all these guys talked about, look, you got to stack wins together, right? If you're going to be relevant at the end of this month, you're going to be, on the graphic in the conversation in December.
In the hunt.
You've got to start stacking some wins. And you can't get to 3 unless you get to 2. And they got to 2. And boy, what a great win for this football team on the road.
Yeah, and it's just you got to keep on going. And next week is not going to be easy. Another road matchup against a probable playoff team. Another win for the Giants today as well. But this is the kind of, especially with the comeback and how it happened and the resiliency in the fourth quarter, I think is really the stepping point from here.
Yeah, the resiliency, that's a good word to use too, because you enter the fourth quarter, you're down, right? And
the third quarter, the middle 8 was not good today and was not.
It was not good at all. But look, to come back in the fourth quarter and to win a game like this, sometimes you have to get the breaks too, right? And here's what Jared Goff said about that at the end of the game.
No doubt, and I think when Okudah made that play, it was kind of like, oh, we're back. We're here now, and there was momentum was going their way before that. And I also think teams that continually win tend to get breaks or things go their way a little bit, and that happened today for us and both sides of the ball, and that's not usually on accident. Sometimes it happens when you're in the right place or doing the right thing. You get those breaks and you get those afforded to you.
And he's exactly right. I mean, you just look at some of the play. Penalties start out with, right? 9 penalties, 86 yards for Chicago, only 2 for 15 yards. One of those was a huge one, Peach. The interception that Goff threw, that ended up not being an interception because of it was hands to the face penalty. And the very next play, DeAndre Swift with a 9-yard touchdown run. There was a breakout run down the left sideline that really could have maybe opened this game up for Chicago when they had a lead. A penalty brings that back. Obviously the Jeff Okudah play. There was a fumble in the third quarter by Detroit that went right through a Chicago defender's hands and right back into Detroit's possession. The mixed extra point that ended up, looming large. And so, Jared's right. When sometimes you just need a few breaks, right, to go your way. And so many times this season the Lions haven't gotten those breaks, but Sunday's a great example of if you do and you make the plays when they're there and get those breaks, you can pull off a win.
Exactly. And they took advantage, I feel like, of every time. You mentioned the interception and then immediately the fumble, and then on the Kalif Raymond end-around fumble, I believe, the next play was even, you got some positive yardage out of that. There was it didn't feel like it snowballed today like it has so many times before this year.
Yeah, 100%. And then, what a huge play by Jeff Okudah there in the fourth quarter. You're down 14, you just get a score, and now, Fields in Chicago's looking to kind of run some clock, chew up some yardage,
They're
take
looking
that
to put
score
points on the board.
to put the game away. And then for Jeff Okudah to step up and make that play, return it 20 yards for a touchdown, his first pick six, his second career interception. Man, that guy is playing really good football right now.
That guy he's just active. He's everywhere. And you're getting to a point now where he has been so good this year that you're kind of like set it and forget on one side of the field. And whatever happens on the other side, you've got plenty of guys to rotate in at this point with the depth of Jerry Jacobs. And I thought Will Harris played pretty well again today. But that right side, you're good with Jeff Okudah from now on.
And how great to say that, right? Because there were so many question marks the first 2 years, obviously with the injury, with the core muscle injury, only played 10 games as a rookie. And then, boom, first week last year with the torn Achilles, and no one knew what Jeff Okudah would be after that injury. Some guys come back, some guys aren't the same player, especially on the outside where it's all speed and everything else playing the cornerback position. But, boy, credit to that young man. He put his head down. He just went to work. And look, he's playing like a number 3 overall pick. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, and
he is playing that good of football, and he is a big reason why the Detroit Lions won the football game today, and they're 3-6, and look, still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, still in the playoff hunt. And you mentioned number 3 pick, the number 2 pick from this year made that play happen. Aiden Hutchinson snuffed out that screen to Cole Kmet and was ready to go, and kind of just, instead of running at Fields and opening up that lane for that throw to happen, just kind of stood there and froze Fields' eyes, and he just had to throw it away and didn't get far enough out of bounds. So as much as, Okudah, great return, great awareness to read the eyes of his former college teammate, that was a big talking point on the TV broadcast that, those two wore number 1 together at Ohio State. But the Michigan guy was actually the one who made the play there.
Little Michigan-Ohio State action.
Just teasing it, right? What, we're like 10 days out at this point?
We got a couple weeks yet. They're not going to be friends in a few weeks.
No.
I asked Aiden if he's got any, any bets coming up with Jeff. What is it, Decker? We got
Jonah Jackson.
He said, man, I'm outnumbered. It's like 3-1 in this locker room. But I'm sure he's going to come up with one. Those other guys didn't have a $23 million signing bonus.
No.
Jeff was close.
Jeff was close.
But there might be something involved there.
But again, much like last week where you got a lot out of Kirby, getting, the production that you did out of 2 and 3 today, it was just phenomenal.
And let's talk about the number 4 pick from last year, too. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
10 catches, 119 yards, and he played in his 25th game today, became one of the top 10 receivers all time in terms of catches in the first 25 games. And look, he was feeling pretty good. We'll see. It looked like he got rolled on late in the game, came out a little bit, and then what does Tom Kennedy do? Step
Mr.
in the
Reliable.
slot and go 44 yards to set up that
Tom
touchdown.
Kennedy.
So that was great to see. Obviously, you'll monitor St. Brown. Now, he did come back into the game, had a crucial run that set up the Jamal Williams winning touchdown there.
That was a good point by you, and something that I really liked, at least offensively today. I felt like Ben Johnson got in his bag a little bit. St. Brown had a carry out of the backfield and then had a couple catches out of the backfield. And when you open the game, that carry, I think, was on the first drive even. When you open the game with that as a threat, those routes out of the backfield are just there for you the whole game. And I think they used it really well.
Yeah, excuse me, PJ. And it was obvious that he was feeling good.
Yeah.
That he was back to being him. Just the way they used him early on. He was really, really active. Look, he's their best pass catcher. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, he's their guy, especially with DJ Shark and Josh Reynolds out. The excitement keeps building for JMO to come back, but I think we're still, a few weeks away from that. And so as of right now, it's St. Brown, and you've got to get the football to your best players any way you can.
Yeah, and I think you're getting kind of the way this is going, at least. Kalif Raymond had a huge catch on 3rd down on an absolute one of the best balls Goff threw today. It was unbelievable. But you're getting, when you get these auxiliary, Kalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, James Mitchell had a catch today, Brock Wright caught a touchdown. When you get these guys, kind of elevating the water, J-Mo's just going to come back in and be a threat because everybody else is a threat at this point.
I want to go back to Jeff a little bit because we talked to him after the game, and that was such a crucial moment in the game. Let's set up what they talked about on the sideline before that play.
It was honestly a crazy moment. Obviously, we were down 2 scores, and it was a play that on the sideline we're saying we got to get a turnover. One of you guys got to be the guys to change the course of this game. So I took a lot of pride in creating that play for our defense.
And that it's like we talk about with these young guys like Josh Pascal, like Aiden Hutchinson making the play that you talked about, like Kirby Joseph. With a couple interceptions last week, it's Jeff's been around, but he hasn't played a lot of football. And so I still consider him in that mix of young guys.
Yep.
When you haven't played this is his 20th, right around there,
Yeah,
20th
something like
game,
that.
something like that. He's got maybe a full season under his belt in a couple games. He's still a young guy, and now we're seeing him making plays and becoming a shutdown guy, and Kirby's developing into a playmaker, and Aiden is starting to understand the game a little bit. It's starting to slow down, and I think that was a good point by you about recognizing that screen, right? It was just like last week when he recognized the tight end tackle.
Yep.
And granted, it was an underthrown football, but he's starting to recognize and he's starting to see the field in
It
front
was
of him.
very similar to last
It's
week.
starting to slow down for him, and I think when that when that happens, all of a sudden, boom, you can start to play a little bit faster. Something turns on and clicks, and it's good to see that those young guys are starting to make a lot of plays.
Another younger guy. I feel like a lot of the defense is young, but big game from Julian Okwara today.
Yeah.
Just, and that's a guy you needed that has a lot of speed off the edge that you needed in there today to kind of set, contain, and take advantage of the field spots where he's dancing around. And yeah, he scored the touchdown, which was unbelievable. But Julian Okwara came up when needed twice, coming around high effort sacks.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see him, too. Still some things to work on, obviously. I mean, Justin Fields, 13 carries, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had a blown coverage. I thought they had done a good job last week limiting those, but they had a blown coverage on defense that led to a 50-yard Cole Kmet touchdown. So, look, you love the win, right? You love going on the road and everything we talked about with the first. But there's still plenty to clean up. But, boy, it's a lot easier to clean stuff up when you feel good about yourself on a Monday, right?
Yeah,
Jason?
and I think, again, like we talked about it even after the season opener when you had Fields and the running quarterback was not something you had seen at that point. And the Eagles certainly took advantage, and the Bears did today as well. But next week you have another running quarterback in Daniel Jones, and you see what happened this week. And now maybe with the momentum of the win, it's a little bit easier to clean up before you got to go do it again on Sunday.
I think it helps when you go back-to-back on that, too. Now, Daniel Jones obviously isn't as dynamic as Justin, but look, he can hit you for 100.
Yeah.
He's shown that. And going from week 1 with a really good rushing quarterback, Geno a little bit in there week 4, and then all of a sudden...
And not a healthy Dak that was not running like he usually would either.
Yeah, and then week 10... So I think that's a little bit different. I think seeing those guys back to back, I think it's a good point by you. That could help them a little bit. That game plan is
You're just
fresh.
in that mode now.
Your run lanes, all that responsibility, discipline was the key word from Aaron Glenn last week. So all those things I think are fresh, and it's obviously going to be another really big test there. At 7-2, they look pretty good. They won again today. What do they got to do next week to come away with 3 in a row and 2 in a row on the road? That would be kind of rarefied territory here in past years.
Yeah, and it's another dynamic kind of rushing attack that you have a superstar running back, and Khalil Herbert was very good today. Montgomery didn't have as much even run as I thought he would. I think he only had 9 carries, but Saquon and Daniel Jones, both of those guys can hit you, and yeah, their receiving core might be much maligned, but they are winning games, and different guys are catching the ball for them and scoring touchdowns. But you got to focus on, like you said, those run lanes and that game plan that, honestly, I would imagine is probably pretty similar to what you put out there today, and you came away with a win, so you got to do it again next week.
All right, you almost beat Minnesota week 3. You saw what Minnesota did on Sunday, beating Buffalo in overtime. I think they're kind of proving they're the real deal, and that's one you probably think you let slip away.
Yep.
One of the other teams that are top of the NFC right now, Philadelphia, obviously
Played
the top
Philly
team,
close.
38-35. You played them close, and now you get a chance at the New York Giants, who are 7-2, who are right there, also going to be one of those top teams in the NFC. So, are you for real?
Yeah.
Are you for real if you're the Detroit Lions? I think you look at yourself and be like, okay, hey, we think our record should be better than it is. I think most people probably do. Well, now we get an opportunity to go on the road and prove that. If we win 3 in a row, I think now we're part of the conversation and maybe get one of those last spots with. You look at the schedule moving forward and some of the opportunities at home. And so I think this is a huge game coming up for them to prove that are we legit? Are we in that conversation? Should we be in the conversation in the NFC? I think if you can go play really well and have a chance to win in New York, I think you deserve to be on the graphic there, and we'll see what happens the last month of the year.
And I think to your point is you said you have a lot of these opportunities coming up at home, and you played. Obviously, you're getting Minnesota at home again. But the only top NFC team that you've played at home so far is Philly, and that was week 1. You were at Minnesota, and you played them close. You were at Dallas. You're going to be at the Giants. Like, all of these, you're going to come back to the safe haven of Ford Field, where you're coming off a win at home against, the Packers, and go from there when you have an opportunity. Obviously, the Bills are a different beast than probably every other team at this point, but
they're not susceptible to losing.
not susceptible to
Was
losing.
that their third loss this week?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you can short week.
at home,
Crowd.
Josh Allen maybe isn't feeling the best.
Yeah, crowd's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And then you got Minnesota, a team that you've played close, in Jacksonville that has not, the record at least is, I think they've played pretty well, but the record isn't what they want it to be
You
either.
got Carolina who struggled. You got Chicago at home. And so, I mean, look, go win some games against some good teams and put yourself in the conversation, right?
You're almost through the gauntlet at this point. So just get through it next week. Get that win on the road, and you're coming back to home, and theoretically things might be a little easier with 3 straight home games there.
Well, we will see. We will certainly have it all covered for you in Allen Park. He is PJ Clark. I am Tim Twentyman. We'll have another 20-minute in the Huddle podcast midweek like we always do. We'll be breaking down Giants, Lions. We'll have a player on. We'll have somebody for key matchups. And so we'll have it all covered for you guys. It's good to be talking about wins.
Oh, it's
a couple
great
weeks
to be
in a row,
talking
right?
about wins. This is great.
31-30, Detroit Lions go on the road, get the first win in the Dan Campbell Detroit Lions head coaching era, and head back to Allen Park to get ready for the New York Giants next Sunday.